Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cool Chevron Strand Bracelet. So this pattern may look familiar to you. I know that I was doing friendship bracelets like this out of embroidery floss back when I was a kid, so I'm sure it was done years before that as well. But with the new strand bands, I think it just adds a new medium to do this design, and it turns out really cool. So the nice thing about the strand bands is that the material is stretchy, so it's easy to get on and off of your wrist. So I'm going to be showing you how to do this one here. I have a bead at the end that I have as the closure, but there's a lot of different methods to close it off. So I think they're a lot of fun to make. They don't take too much time, and with the strand styler, it's really helpful, and I think it helps you zip through it a lot faster. The first thing you need to do is to determine what colors you want to use. So I'm going to be using black, purple, pink, and this light green. The next thing you need to determine is how thick you want your bands to be. So with this particular bracelet, I do recommend using just one single strand. So you want to just pull those apart, and you need to measure the length. So for mine, I'm going to be using a length of 50 inches for each strand because I will be folding those in half and knotting them that way, so I'll wind up with 8 strands to work with. So the length of my final bracelet is going to measure about 7 inches. Then you're going to line up the ends of your strands and fold your bands in half. And at the end where you have folded them in half, what you're going to do is form a knot. So you're just going to take your finger, give yourself enough slack here, and then just wrap it around your finger, and then put all of these bands through the loop that you just made. So stretch this out, get the loops to go through, and then just work it back up. You want to make the loop as small as possible. You need to leave it big enough that you're going to be able to fit your bands in, but you want to give yourself the least room here. So I'm just working my knot up towards the left. So then here's my loop, and then here are my 8 strands. The next thing I'll do is to get my bands to go onto my strand styler. So I want to take right around the knot area, and I'm going to just open the clip and stick that on. If you do not have a strand styler, you can just use a clipboard, or if you don't have a clipboard, you can just use any flat surface and some Scotch tape to help hold the bracelet down as it grows. So now I want to spread out my colors in the order I'd like. So you do have to do a little bit of untwisting here. You want to try and get it as smooth as possible at the top. So I want black to be on the end, so I am just going to leave that loose. And then my next color I want is purple. I'm going to put that in the first. And then I have pink. And then I want green. Gonna do that same order on the other side. So I have black that I'm just going to leave hang off the edge, and then I want purple, one on the end, and then pink, and finally green. So I'm actually not having anything attached in the very center to start. To make the chevron pattern, we're going to be taking the end strands and they're going to work their way into the middle. So that's what's going to give it that V shape. So I'll start with the left one, and I'm going to make a forward knot. So for this, I'm going to take my band, I'm going to pinch it sort of up close to the top and bring this over. So it's kind of making a sideways V. And you can also relate it to a number 4. If you look at that purple band and you look at the black band, they sort of make a number 4. So you're going to take your black band, you're going to go on the right side of the band. It's going to come underneath, and up through. So that's going to make a loop around that. And it's important as you're pulling this up that you leave this loop loose, because if it starts to tighten down here, it's not going to slide up. So I would recommend take your fingers and hold this band that's on the left here, my purple one. I'm going to hold that nice and tight, and then leaving this loose until I get up to the top. Then you're going to just slowly tighten that. So the tension that you put on here is a little bit tricky to determine. You don't want to pull your knots so they're super tight, but you don't want to leave them too loose either. So I would say put an amount of tension on here so the knot gets snug against and you don't see any gaps, but not too tight so it gets really tiny. And we're going to do 2 knots on each one of our strands till we get into the center. So that was 1. So again, you're pinching, making a sideways V. You have this number 4. Again, you're going to pick up your purple band or whatever your color is. You're going to come underneath and it's going to go up through. So you're going to make that loop. Again, hold this tight and very loosely make this loop tighten. You don't want it to get tight till it's up against. So now we're going to go to the next band, which is our pink. Again, you're making your number 4. This time you're picking up the pink. It's going under and up through. Again, keep the tension on the pink and then leave that loop on the loose side till you get up to the top. And then one more time, pick up the pink, it comes under and up. Again, I can't stress enough, you have to leave that loop on the loose side till you get to the top. And then we have one more for this side. We have our green. So you're making that number 4 with the black and green. Pick this up, bring it through, and tighten. And then one more time. And now I'm going to place this in the empty slot. Now, before I make my knots on the right side, I am going to move the bands over on the left. I'm going to shift the positions. So the purple one is now going to come off of the styler. Pink is going to move over 1. Green will move over 1. And black is going to remain there. Now, just like we moved that outer band into the middle from the left side, we're going to do the same thing from the right. So we had done forward knots on this side, so we'll be doing backward knots on this side. So basically, it's just the reverse. Instead of making a number 4, you're making a backwards number 4. So if you take your band, pinch it, pull it over to the left here to make that sideways V, and you're going to go to the left side of purple. It's going to come underneath and up through that loop. Again, hold this tight and get this to come all the way up to the top. Again here, you're doing that backwards 4. It's coming over on the left, up through the loop, and you're going to pull this tight, but not too tight. If you do pull this too tight, you're usually going to see whatever color band that your straight band is, it's going to pop up through there. That's how you're going to know if you pull too tightly. So again, my backwards 4, this time I'm going to the left side of my pink band. So that's 1, And this very first row is probably the most difficult because the bands are kind of all jumbled at the top. But as you get that done, once you go complete your next rows, it's going to be much easier. So now I have my green to go under. So you can kind of see here, I don't know if you can tell, how it sort of, the green popped up a little bit. So I'm going to actually loosen this just a touch. And now I have a second one to do. And so the black is now in the center, and I do also want to go over the black as well. So that's important because if you didn't link these two black together, you would have a hole down the center of your bracelet. So doing those 2 backward knots. There's 1. And 2. So now I can put this black into the empty spot. And then I also want to shift these so my purple's coming off and the rest of these will all slide over 1. So again, you're leaving that empty space in the center. So basically that's all there is to it. You're just going to keep repeating that. So I will do the next color with you, but then I'll let you finish the rest of the bracelet on your own. So let me just show you here with the purple. We're on the left side, so we're going to do those forward knots. So we're making that number 4, coming around the inside part of that and up through. So there's 1, 2, and then I'm doing 2 for the green, and then one more time, going over the black. And once you get comfortable with this, you can really zip along here. I'm going to put that in the center. And then I'll do my backward knots with the purple on this side. So it looks like that backwards 4, and it's going around the left side. And then over the green. And now the black. And then finally, don't forget you have to do your 2 center colors have to go over one another. You don't want that hole in the middle. And I actually did forget to move these, which isn't a problem, you just don't have a space for it. So I'm just going to move them now. So this comes off. and these just shift over. And then again on the right, to get set up for your next row, you're just going to shift all these. And then you're ready to do the pink. So you're just going to continue in that same pattern, bringing your outside bands into the center and making sure that you cross the two center ones as well. And then when you have your bracelet to the length that you'd like it, you can check back here and I'll show you how to finish it off. When you have your bracelet finished, you're going to have these strings at the end, so we just need to connect the end to the beginning. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. We made that loop at the beginning, so what you can do is just take half of your bands and get them to go through this loop. So I actually have a hook here. If you don't have a hook, you can just use your fingers. Just grab 4 of the bands and just pull them through. And then with the remaining 4, you're just going to tie this off. So you would just go through once and then go through a second time until it's nice and snug. And another thing you can do, and what I'm going to show, is putting a bead on the end. So I'm going to attempt to get all of these bands to go through this bead and then make a knot. So it is going to be tight because the opening is not very big. So I have a twist tie here that I removed the paper from, and I'm going to use that to help me get these bands through this bead. So I'm going to take my middle part and go through the bead. And then I'm going to grab about 4 here, or maybe I can try to do 5. It's going to be tight. I'm going to bend the hook here and snag these bands. And I'm just going to go through, so I have both ends of the metal sticking out, and then I'm going to carefully try and work this through. I see my one end is slipping. You have to make sure you hold both ends of the metal. Here we go. Just try and be careful. Don't pull too hard because the wire could cut through the bands. And we definitely don't want that to happen. So once you get a little bit through, just try and pull on the, let me take this out. I'm just going to try and pull on the rubber bands and not be pulling with that wire. Problem is I don't know which side to pull. So let's just see here. There we go. You can do less bands. You don't have to do all 5 at once. I wanted to get as many through as I could with that first. So now we have 3 more bands we're going to have to get through. So I'm just going to take my twist tie and go back through. And then probably at this point I'm going to have to do just 1 at a time. And of course the more that you do, the tighter it's going to get, so. And what I'm going to do also is take the bands that are already through here and sort of squeeze these together, pull them downward to make that hole a little bit more open. Yeah, that's much better. So we got 1. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Again, I'm going to pull these to one side, Maybe this will slide through easier. There we go. So I'll take another one. And the thinner wire that you have, the better. Again, just be careful. You don't want the metal to just cut this band apart. Then you're really in trouble. Let me take that off. Now I have one more to get through, and I got a different wire just because I was trying with the last one and it wasn't working and my wire was getting all bent up. So let's see if we have any more luck with this one. Just wrap that around the last band. See if I can get this to slide out the other end. Yeah, I do see it. Definitely need some patience doing this. Or you need a bead with a bigger hole, really. So make sure your last band is caught in there. There we go. So I did finally get them all through. I'm going to try and get the bands through evenly here. And then what I'm going to do is make a knot on the end here. So I don't have a lot of string left. Make sure that I get all of them to come through. And I'll make that nice and tight up against the bead. And then I can trim the ends here. I'm going to leave just a little bit on there. And then that way the bead can go through the loops. And that will help to hold it together. Let me just straighten it out there. So whatever method works best for you, and of course you can come up with your own method too. You don't have to make that loop at the beginning. I hope that everyone's thrilled with the way that your new Chevron Strand bracelets have turned out. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to post your pictures and subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!